What I want to do with STARC is to focus on the things that actually unites us, wherever we are. And when we look at the education system today, it hasn't changed in the means. There is a smarter way to do things. There is a better way, easier way to do things. For once, there will be light on the effort and work a teacher has to do. Every great idea starts from a single person's mind, and then it becomes a million people's lifestyle.
I feel like I'm meeting somebody who may actually change the world. So Ansar, were your parents able to see the future?
My parents?
When they named you? Because you're the answer to education.
Oh, they're great.
You know, when I was younger, they was always saying, Ansar. Is your name Ansar? Ansar, can you please answer the question? So I've heard that one many times before. But no to your question. I don't think they could predict the future.
No, okay. Just a bit ironic, I guess.
Yeah, I hope. Let's see what the future brings. If I have the answer or if I'm another question mark.
We'll see.
So STARC,
where
did this all begin?
Well, for the past 10 years, I've been working in a company called Sales Aphid. We produce graduation caps and gowns. And I've been starting up in many different countries. Had the privilege of working with teachers and students in Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Iceland, and even in the States, Dubai as well. So that really gave me a lot of opportunity to understand how the current education system is, without that being the purpose of my visit. But somehow all the time when I was having these conversations with the teachers and the students, it always somehow ended with dissatisfaction with the current education system. I think that's where it started to, STARC started to be visualized and structured in my mind as a solution for the current education system, well, at least the gaps in the current education system.
And STARC, the name STARC, is the abbreviation of?
It stands for Students' Arc.
Students' Arc.
Yeah,
okay.
And it's actually a really funny story as well. I was sitting with my brother in a cafeteria and we were trying to find a nice name, and we went on Google and tried to get inspired with many, many different things. Thank God it ended up with STARC. But the reason why it ended up with STARC was actually because of a true inspiration of, you all know the story of Noah. He built this amazing ark. And he took the most important thing that was on earth and he put it on this ark, and then the water came and the whole world had to start over again. I wanted to create an ark looking at the education system and take the most important elements in the education system and somehow do a paradigm shift that would make everybody else look at education system differently. And that's how Students' Arc started.
So you went from making hats and gowns to trying to revolutionize the education system.
Yes, but I'll tell you what it was. So first of all, when you look at the current education system, you see that there's a lot of good aspects in it, right? And there is many things that works really well. But what happened is just that I believe that there is major gaps that hasn't been filled up. Let me give you an example. If you take a teacher from, let's say, a couple of 100 years back and put him in a classroom right now, I don't think that he would be surprised. But if you take a doctor for a couple of 100 years ago and put him in a hospital, he would probably not even know what's going on in there, right? It will be completely different. And that says a little bit about the means that has developed. And when we look at the education system today, it hasn't changed in the means. There is a smarter way to do things. There is a better way, easier way to do things. But somehow that has not been developed.
Previous, you said that it should be possible for everyone in the world to have education. This platform that you're introducing soon is going to be free for everyone.
Exactly.
So, what is your mission
You know, when you say soon, I've been working with this project for 5 years, and of course, it has been in my mind for a really long time. And just to hear the word soon, it puts a smile on my face. Yes, that is definitely my vision. I've always thought that education is knowledge, and knowledge is a basic human right. Every human being deserves that, or I think that's their rights, right? And making education available for everyone, I really believe that that would be the first step of reaching a better tomorrow, you know, because knowledge, that's what it does to us. And right now, that's not a possibility. I want it to be accessible for everyone, regardless of your nationality, regardless of where you live and your economical situation.
Right.
I mean, of course, this is my vision. So this is not something that I would be able to, even though I really want to do it tomorrow, but that's not possible. But yeah, I want to make education free and available for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's very simple, basic human right.
Yeah.
You got all happy when you said soon.
Yeah.
How long has this journey been going on for now?
The idea started more than 5 years ago, but I've been working with several teams intensively. And it's actually funny because the idea, what it was back then and what STARC is right now, is very, very different. And one thing that I learned was not to fall in love with the idea itself, but the purpose of it. You can't fall in love with the idea because that limits you. Right. You need to fall in love with the goal because that is the purpose, that is the change. Right. And there can be multiple ways of reaching that goal. But if you are like really focused or somehow in love with the idea itself, you know, you might not be able to be open to changes.
Right.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you said that you visit tons of schools, thousands of schools.
Exactly.
Which means you have included the students, the teachers, you understand what they're thinking, the daily problems and everything.
Exactly.
So taken from their point of view, you know now maybe how to solve it with the right tool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, like when you have the privilege of visiting so many different type of schools and also different type of curriculums, at the end of the day, what I found out is that it actually doesn't matter what curriculum it is. What's needed is needed. Right. And there is no educational platform which actually take cares of the students and the teachers' needs and daily life in a way that makes their life easier. And it's literally is not there. So because whether you go to Finland or whether you go to Dubai or wherever you are, even in America, the States, you would always find the same things because our needs during education is the same, right?
Right.
And the gaps is the same. Even though the curriculum can be different. So yeah, definitely talking to students, talking to teachers, understanding their needs and their behavior at the school has a huge effect.
Okay.
I mean, they are basically the foundation of why STARC been, you know, developing in the right direction.
Right.
You keep saying gaps. What exactly do you mean
with gaps?
Say gaps, yeah.
So when we look at the gaps, there is multiple gaps that needs to be paid attention to when we talk about the current education system. Firstly, if we look at just the communication, well, you have multiple social platforms, right? You have Facebook, you have Instagram, many different ways to interact with other people.
Even LinkedIn in the professional world.
Well, that is in the professional world, exactly. And that's there as well. But where's the educational world?
Yeah.
I mean, why isn't there a platform that connects everybody in the educational world?
Yeah, you would think that would be the biggest social platform.
You would definitely think that would be the most important one, right? Because, I mean, that is basically the foundation of life. So if I really want to go towards building up a future, there should be a platform that helps me out with that. And weirdly, that's non-existing.
Yes.
We spoke about that too, right? In the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so strange.
It's one of those ideas that as soon as you hear it, you realize, how does this not exist already?
Exactly.
It should exist.
It's
Well, trust me, and that's another thing which I also think is quite important, is that when you're building up something as this magnitude, it's a huge thing. It's very important to understand that the most important thing is it needed or is it not needed, right? For me, STARC is needed. Mm-hmm. And I actually don't care whether it comes from me or it comes from someone else. It's needed. And literally, I know it's probably a little bit dramatical, but if you see a house full of fire, someone needs to shut it off.
Right.
It doesn't matter who does it.
Doesn't matter if it's the fire department or if it's the neighbor.
Exactly. It just needs to be shut off. And looking at the education system right now, it just needs to be updated.
Yeah, catch
You
up.
just need a system that will take care of the students, the teachers, the parents, and the schools, in institutions in the best way, easy way, make their life easier. I mean, it just makes sense,
It does.
right?
Right.
Totally.
Yeah, it does.
So I saw in STARC there's an essential feature of leaving feedback and leaving reviews.
Yeah.
Could you shed some light on those?
Yeah, of course, of course. What led me to introduce that part was actually, it was actually really interesting, and I'll tell you why. So first of all, I remember, you guys went to school, right? And you remember the day where the teacher said in certain amount of time, there would be time for evaluation, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
One thing is that it was terrifying, but what happened to you? What did you do?
You stepped up, right?
Yeah, you stepped up your game.
You did a better effort to achieve a better grade.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Good. Very good. See, that's what review does to us.
Right.
How come there is no reviews when it comes to teachers or the schools
Yeah.
or the classes?
Yeah.
Is not existing.
Right.
And if you look at the power, I mean, right now, what happens is if you go visit a restaurant, let's just say you had a restaurant and it says the plates are not clean.
Right.
What is the first action you would do?
Make sure that the plates are cleaned.
Right away. I mean,
Right.
you would take immediately action. You look at the review and you go straight towards the action. You would probably call the restaurant right away and say, we just got a review. It says the plate are not clean. What's going on?
Yeah.
Right.
You want to get into it right away,
Right.
Right.
So this is the power of review. And I was just trying to take that philosophy and integrate it into STARC. So let's evaluate the classes.
Yeah.
Let's evaluate the teachers. And somehow that's not existing. I mean, not to the level that it needs to. So I believe one of the most important engines in STARC is also that we are pushing the teachers to become a better version of themselves. We're also pushing students to become a better version of themselves. And when you do that, you push the schools to become a better version of themselves. Now, one of the most important occupation, which is teaching, is getting the right attention. And it needs to be as respected as everything else. I mean, if you become a doctor, we see it as a noble thing, right? It's a very respected occupation because we're working with human body. And somehow working with the human mind, building personalities, it doesn't have the same level, and it's weird.
It's
Nowhere
sad,
near.
yeah.
They're some of the lowest paid people in our society.
That's another issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But through this system, we will push teachers. And when parents are involved, schools are involved, for once there will be light on the effort and work a teacher has to do to actually teach.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a very important part of STARC.
But
And it's a very nice way. There would be some students thinking, yeah, I don't want to give feedback right away.
I was just gonna
because-
say that, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Because so there is an option in STARC that you can basically give feedback anonymously.
Okay.
Right? Basically, we secure that when you rate the teacher too low, you need to comment on it. And when you rate teacher too high, you need to comment on it as well. So it forces you to not just go ahead and put reviews
Right.
in.
Give reason to.
But it's really to actually impact the schools or the teachers to become better. So it's a simple tool, but it's so needed. And it comes straight right after class. You log into class and then once it's done, you can review the teacher itself, the class itself, and even the schools.
Right.
From the parents' perspective, I can imagine, I don't have kids yet, but I have a lot of nephews and nieces, and it would be very interesting for me to, if it was possible, to go in and see the ratings of a school before I put them in there. Imagine if you have ratings about bullying. How is bullying or discrimination, right? And those figures can be a goal for a school. Right now, I mean, I cannot even put my mind into how many students go through school being bullied, and it's not recorded. We don't even know how serious of a problem is. We see sometimes something that really sticks out, and it's a huge thing, and it's a horrible thing, and like, how can we somehow have an impact on that? Through STARC, we would send out every 3 months where the students put an evaluation of the classes in the schools, where we will ask them questions anonymously, whether they believe bullying is an issue in the class, whether discrimination is or the teaching is an issue in the class. So through this, we would make sure that the teacher gets that report on every 3 months. It could be on monthly basis. There is many different options to do that. But that report would help you see that issue and take it seriously, right?
Nice.
Because there's a lot of students that doesn't speak out loud about it.
Right.
But now they can do it because it's anonymously, right? And the most important thing is just that the feedback comes back towards the school. And now I can see, and I can actually put in a plan for how to change it. So like, imagine if a school can put up a goal for them, like, what is our ratings when it comes to bullying? What is our ratings when it comes to discrimination? What is our ratings in teaching the school? And what if that becomes a common goal for the whole school, and you could suddenly celebrate that bullying went from 2.5 to 2.1.
So it's making them feel like a whole family that are competing with other schools being the best in not bullying.
I mean, you can only imagine what it will progress to. But the most important thing is that will be taken serious from the school side.
Yes.
And I mean, because if those figures suddenly is official, if people can log in and see what is the ratings of, X school. You take it seriously, because now that means whether you're going to get students or not. Right?
Exactly, whether parents will trust.
And I think it's a healthy way to do it.
STARC actually opens up the possibility for communication in all different societies, countries, different walks of life. It could actually break down some barriers and connect people in that way.
I love that you say barriers, because STARC's vision is for me, it's really to reunite people somehow, And how do you do that? First of all, you need to take away the barriers, right? And at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we all want to develop. But the way that the world is moving right now, is focusing so much on the things that separates us, right? Totally. And what I want to do with STARC is to focus on the things that actually unites us, wherever we are, right? Through communication, through education, through collaboration, we might actually look at each other as just another human being that lives in a certain area, but that doesn't define us. No. So that's really what I would love STARC to achieve.
To unite people across the countries.
So, because I believe that's the only way. Once we have knowledge, our barriers, our judgments disappears. If I want to know something about a religion, I can simply ask someone instead of having my opinion about it beforehand or judging other people beforehand. People could be able to communicate based on something which is important. Right now, honestly, there is multiple social platforms where you talk a lot, but you say nothing. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
And I really believe that STARC can bridge those gaps where the communication is based on something real, something that will actually benefit the world. So yeah, definitely. That's something that for me is very clear to see that STARC is the only educational platform globally that would be able to do that.
So I can see that the networks,
Yeah.
it's really needed, right? Across all the countries.
Yeah.
What are the tools?
When I was working with the idea of STARC, I wanted to make myself somehow always available to evolve, right?
Yeah.
And for me to evolve, I need to take away the boundaries that would somehow take STARC and put it in a box and say, this is STARC. So I came up with an idea. I said, what if we could introduce that on the platform, every student, every teacher have an app store, but only educational apps. So there I could introduce different type of tools that would make the student's life easier. So it's a simple feature, but it's so good. And we will actually allow people to make apps, create apps, if they believe that there is something that can contribute to the education system. I mean, we would love that. We will embrace that. Yeah. So there is probably many smart and intelligent and creative people out there, which we would embrace them to create an app which could be better for STARC. But right now, looking at the different apps that we have been evaluating, we really believe that our apps is quite unique. And here we're talking about an app that writes notes, synchronized in a really good way. It's a very smart tool that makes it easy and directly connected to your Akka box with your storage. You can, whenever and wherever you are, you can just log into it and start writing, share your notes.
Yeah.
You could even publish your notes so other people can actually go in and use it, because it's all about help and collaboration.
Yeah.
You also have homework. Homework is a very important thing, how to organize it. So there is a specific app that would help you make your homework, structure your homework with deadlines and countdowns, and in a really smart way. And when I look at it, I must admit, like, I wish I had that in my school times, because it literally takes away stress.
Right.
It organizes it for you, so you can see exactly what's to pay attention to. So we have another app which is very important, and that is the resume. A lot of students today, they have a work, or they want to work. I mean, I started working when I was 13, but there is no places where that can be track record, right? I mean, on LinkedIn, that is only a possibility once you're done with your education.
Right,
and
yeah.
I mean, some people are 30, once they're done, and then they get their job, and it's worthy to put in. So I believe there's a huge gap, because one of the most important jobs that we go through is usually the first one, because they form us.
Right. Yeah.
So if we look at the current education system, the transition from education to occupation is not directly linked, but on STARC, it will. One of the most important features of STARC, and why we can do that many great things, is that if you look at any other social media right now, you don't have any validation. LinkedIn doesn't provide you any validation. So I could basically be an astronaut in LinkedIn, and who would check, right? I think there was even examples of people putting in things which was not actually 100% truth, because there is no validation. And on Facebook, you can have fake accounts. On many other things, you can have fake.
Twitter.
So the only thing that you cannot have a fake account is actually on STARC. And I'll tell you why. Because you are validated by the institution. The institution would say, yes, this is Ansar. He is a student at this school.
Right.
And then I create my profile, right? Wow. Every information in there, everything I build up there is validated.
Wow. So
suddenly you have an educational passport that you would be able to use in the future to start at the university. You don't need to fill out information. You don't need to do all these different type of administration things. You just simply send your STARC profile and then you could be in consideration of starting your next journey. So it's quite amazing, right?
It sounds amazing, yeah.
You're definitely saving time by doing like that, right?
And of course.
And then the students can focus on homeworks and other important things instead of those boring things.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think that is also very important when it comes to the teachers, because one of the things that I also learned when I was visiting and talking to all of these teachers, they like time-consuming tasks. They had so much to do, and like imagine you take that away from them and let them focus on what this is really all about,
Right.
and that is teaching, right? And you know we don't want to take that role. STARC is a service platform that I would actually see us as we are employed by the schools and the teachers. We are here to help them, to improve. We want to be the missing link in between the teachers and the students. So we could actually help them, right? And we will provide the right and necessary tools for all of the stakeholders to make sure that the teacher's life becomes easier, the parents' life becomes easier, the school's life becomes easier, and the students' life becomes easier. If you can do that, then you actually focus on what really matters, which is actually learning, right?
Right. Yeah.
Teaching, which is far more important. And you could also have time for looking at each student as an individual, where you can see their needs and you can understand and you can help them. You know, you can basically boost their creativity, allow them to be different, allow them to think differently, instead of always focusing on making an education plan which needs to be suited for as many people as
Right.
possible.
Right.
Because that's not how it's supposed to be done.
So it gives the opportunity for the teacher to tailor each education to each student, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So what it does basically, the problem is not that the teacher doesn't have the ability or the desire to help each student. That's not an issue, and that's actually a quite important thing, because if that was the case, you would have another struggle. The
Right.
teachers, they are teaching because they want to see the students become better, right? So they have the desire to help. They really want to help. But sometimes there is just the working hours is the working hours. So there's just not time for it, right? So the students, they don't get the right time. The teacher would just go ahead and say that now you need to learn how to do math equations. Or, for instance, reading, right?
Right.
And once, if you haven't done that, if you haven't, learned how to do that, the teacher doesn't stop.
Right.
They just move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the things that you didn't learn, it just stacks up. And
Right.
the distance from you and the rest of the class becomes bigger and bigger. And
Right.
suddenly you hate school. Suddenly you don't like to go to school anymore. Because you somehow, in your mindset, you connected to something negative, right?
Right.
You are exposed. You don't feel motivated there anymore.
No.
But what STARC does is that it allows you to focus on those students and actually have the break. Be more as a coach, as a guide, as a mentor. Talk to the students and listen to those who really needs help. Gives you the time to actually focus on those who really needs it, instead of just taking a certain way of teaching and just put it on top of everybody else.
It's actually super relevant, because I remember when I attended the classes, if you felt like you were behind or whatever, you're not catching the point, it felt like the teacher, they just lost you.
Right.
Oh, all right, she's lost already. I just continue with the people that actually understand what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So it's a very relevant topic
It's like
to feel like everybody is included.
Yeah, totally. It would always
Yeah.
feel like it was my problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It wasn't her problem or the teacher's problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing which is very important on STARC is that if I put in as a goal that I want to become a doctor,
Yeah.
then based on geographically where you are, STARC already takes in the information and sees what is the requirement to become a doctor. Then it goes in and looks at your grades, and it will tell you exactly how far you are from it.
Wow.
So STARC would actually help you, tell you that, okay, you need to improve this and this and that. So for instance, I remember easily when I was younger and I wanted to start it at the university, I didn't know that I needed math on a certain level to come in. And once when I was done, suddenly I found out, hey, if you want to become an export engineer, you need math at the level B, or was it A? Can't even remember.
Yeah.
But I knew that I had to go for extra classes
Yeah.
in my summer vacation.
Right.
I mean, that's not supposed to happen.
No.
So in that way, STARC actually makes it very easy. You just log in and you see how far am I from my goal.
Right.
And how many classes did I attend to? When is it the next time I'm going for the next vacations coming in? I mean, all sorts of statistics, which is both fun to see,
Right.
but also very educational.
Right.
From a teacher's perspective, you can also customize your education towards that individual,
Right.
right? Because there is data to prove it. You just log in, I press your name, and then I see graphs.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, can you imagine? Just
be
simple.
amazing.
Yeah.
You just see graphs, and you just say, okay, you know, this month you didn't return this assignment, and here, and you can see you're lacking here. Why did you lack here?
Right.
And then, you know, yeah, this is actually where I had some family issues, and et cetera, et cetera. All right, that makes sense. Then how can we get you up there? I mean, can you imagine have that conversation
Yeah.
with your teacher?
Yeah. I wish I could have had that
Exactly,
conversation with my teacher.
Exactly.
So are you able to take online courses too? If you're lacking in math, for example, you want to improve your math, you can
Yeah.
actually go and take online courses?
Yeah. So let's just say you are in, you're supposed to be in class. You haven't checked in. You couldn't check in because you're not at the class. You're
Right.
sick. You're sitting at home. The current education system tells you that that's just the way life is.
Right.
But STARC provides you the opportunity to go in and attend to class while being at home. Because one student can just go on live.
Right.
And when they go on live, you can sit at home, you can still be part of the lessons. right?
Amazing.
You can share notes, you can connect directly, you can even contribute. But it will still be counted as absence because you're not part of class.
Right.
But
Okay.
that's not the purpose. If you're sick, you're sick. But we don't want you to miss the knowledge.
Right.
And the knowledge is still available. And you know, the best scenario, that is the dream, to actually make all teachers one day go on live, right?
Yeah.
And then imagine if the teachers have followers
Right, yeah.
all around the world
Right.
that can afford education, and now they can simply log in and learn. It
They'll put
doesn't-
more effort into the teaching as well, right? Because they want to show what they
Of
can
course,
do and what they can
Of
teach.
course.
Yeah.
But also, you're doing the same job, but you are now impacting millions of people.
Right.
For instance, if let's just say that there is a teacher which is quite popular and he's really good at, you know, teaching. So that goes viral, right?
Right.
And now imagine you go in and you want to see the ratings of the best teachers, and suddenly you have a list of top 20 or top 100.
Yeah.
And then you would like to follow that teacher. And that's what I mean by taking teaching and giving it the right, you know, level of occupation, because it's such a respectful job.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it needs to come up there.
Yeah. It
right?
doesn't get the respect it deserves.
It doesn't, right? So, I mean, imagine a teacher suddenly has followers
Right.
all over the world, and we're following a teacher because he is teaching us something about knowledge
Yeah.
instead of following people that tells us how to dress.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
not that that is bad, but
In the grand scheme of things.
so yeah.
No, that's a beautiful vision, though.
Yes.
I like that aspect. What about privacy?
Good, very good.
Does the teacher have the ability to be completely off public record, and likewise for the student?
Very good. So privacy, especially these days, are very, very important, because unfortunately, many people have taken advantage of both information and people's privacy. When you are an educational platform, you need to put things in perspective of what is the purpose of it. And that is also one of the reasons why STARC is a free educational platform. This is not something that we are thinking about, okay, we want to be the next billionaires. You know, that's not the purpose of STARC at all.
Right.
For us, the most important thing is to make a difference, right? So basically, when you have that kind of understanding, you also make sure that the information that is given, it's always for the best of the users. So that is the first thing we were thinking about, was what is important for the users. Of course, privacy is important. So we give the free ability for each student or for each teacher to basically decide what kind of information they would like to share. And they can actually go down to the smallest thing. So it's not just a general thing. You can just go into this grade I don't want to share, but this grade I want to share. This comment I don't want to share, this comment I want to share. So full, completely customization option of making my platform to my platform. That's what I want to share.
How are you going to introduce STARC to the schools?
Actually, we want to start with test schools. We already have a huge line of test schools that are very much, they really want STARC to be part of their education plan, and that's of course really nice. And then after that, once we're done with that testing, then we will go global.
This is in Dubai, right?
Yeah, and we start in Dubai, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. We start in Dubai, and the reason why we start in Dubai is basically because Dubai has 200 different nationalities in one small place, and you have curriculums from all over the world. You have Canadian curriculum, Indian curriculum, Pakistani curriculum, British curriculum, American curriculum, and et cetera, et cetera. So you basically have the whole world, based there. So it'll be really nice for us to test STARC in each of these curriculum and see how, they will adapt to it.
I really hope you come to America, because our educational system is terrible and could use all of these improvements.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time.
So it sounds like STARC is a real game changer.
Yeah, I really believe so. And every great idea starts from a single person's mind, and then it becomes a million people's lifestyle. And you have to be brave enough to think that, to visualize that, to even achieve it one day. So this is something that has been built up in my mind for a really long time. I've visualized all sorts of way that STARC could go. And now I'm just looking forward to see it get born, get out there, and do its job and do its magic. I really believe that it's going to contribute for a better world, because we are taking the backbone of life, which is education, and pushing it from there. So I'm very confident, I'm very happy and excited that a great change is just around the corner.
Well, Ansar, it may sound really cheesy, but I feel like I'm meeting somebody who may actually change the world. And I wish you the best of luck, and I really hope to use your platform someday.
Thank you.